This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, now we bring you a discussion on safety measures in Indian Railways. The participants are Shanti Narayan, former member Railway Board, and Manish Anand, journalist.
On Saturday, Puri-Haridwar Utkal Express met with an unfortunate accident and 23 people lost their lives. The prima facie we have come to know that some kind of unapproved maintenance work was being undertaken by local officials, because of which the driver could not see any mandatory red flags and he could not stop the train and the coaches got derailed. Mr. Shanti Narayan, we have established standard operating procedure in which you need to take prior approval for any maintenance work, and for that you need to block the tracks so that no trains can cross that way. How do you see this accident and the lapses behind it?
We have systems to ensure these standard practices are actually followed. The mechanism that we normally apply is to have surprise checks, inspections at regular intervals, and there are instructions also, all these topics. If the facts are correct, then there is no doubt that there has been negligence on the part of the local staff who was actually organizing those repairs, and therefore they cannot escape responsibility. That goes without saying. But I want to also highlight that we have also to go into the reasons why such shortcuts are being practiced. Is it due to simple laziness and negligence on the part of the staff, or are there any other factors which are leading these people to take such shortcuts? So I would like that the inquiry that has been ordered now, they should go into all these aspects. They must see first whether the standard operating practices were actually applied or there was negligence in this area. If there was negligence, then why did it take place? What were the inspections done during the course of this maintenance activity which was being done? Was it the control informed about it? Whether the practices of protecting the affected part of the track, whether that protection was given or not? If it was not given, then the driver is not responsible, but the local maintenance staff are certainly responsible for that. But as far as the driver's role is concerned, we understand that he had to apply emergency brakes. And at a high speed, if emergency brakes are applied, then the coaches tend to pile up. So there is a general direction to the drivers also that if you have to apply the brakes, you have to apply the emergency brakes gradually so that this type of thing does not happen. Of course, if there was a disconnect on the track and if the train had to cross that portion at high speeds, then derailment obviously going to happen in any case. But piling up due to emergency braking also has to be examined, whether this practice of applying gradually braking, whether that was correctly followed by the driver. But primary responsibility definitely lies on the maintenance staff.
Indian Railways carry almost 2.5 crore people on a daily basis, and that is the population of Australia that we carry on each day in our trains. How can a system fail such an incident that we have come across, that you need to take approval for maintenance work, for which you need to block the tracks so that everybody comes to know, the station manager, the driver of the train, and other safety personnel. Here the station manager of the station has come on record saying that he wasn't aware that some kind of maintenance work was going on. So definitely there is a kind of pressure on some people who are taking shortcuts, outsourcing the work to the private people, taking the help of unauthorized people in getting the repair work done so that the punctuality is not affected. Apparently, if the media reports are to be believed, then there is a delay of an average 3 hours across the country in the running of the trains. So you think that the system is under pressure and because of which the standard laid down procedure is being violated or compromised?
See, the system is certainly under pressure. There's no doubt about it. But the point is, even under pressure, standard operating practices cannot be ignored. There's no question. I mean, safety is paramount, and safety has to be ensured under all circumstances. It is better that the train gets delayed rather than meet an accident due to shortcuts. So therefore, there is no alibi for the negligence on the part of the staff at the site. That is quite clear. But management now has to see that if the pressure of work a number of trains that have to be run on a section which is saturated beyond its charted capacity, then there has to be action taken to increase the capacities. Now, I am aware of the fact that investments on the Indian Railways were delayed for a very long time. The demand for investment, the need for the investment was conveyed at the highest levels for bringing in investment. And this has been delayed for various reasons, political, administrative. But the point basically is the government as a whole has to take responsibility for the fact that the investments that were required to be put into the system, for whatever reasons, if they were not done, then there is a management failure. Management failure, it may not be at the administrative level, it could be at the political level, but whatever. We cannot compromise the safety of the travelling public under any circumstances.
In the past, we have been a bit populist with the railways, that we kept on announcing number of trains in each of the budget without adequately investing in the capacity expansion. But the Minister Suresh Prabhu, in the last two budgets, he has done away with the process of announcing number of trains in the budget. And he has said that I would rather expand the capacity in place of announcing new trains. But so the fact is that many of our main trunk lines, like the one which goes through Uttar Pradesh, which has seen a number of incidents in the last 2 years. For example, the Mughal Sarai and the Ghaziabad section, which is highly saturated, which is almost at 100% capacity. Aren't we in a situation where we need to rationalize the number of trains so that the system functions at a better level, that the people of the safety personnel, they get enough time to carry out the maintenance works?
As a former member traffic, I must compliment this government that they have accepted the need for investments. They have started investing heavily into the railway network, and therefore the default of earlier governments has been, there is an attempt to correct that. That compliment goes to this present government. The point that you have raised is whether the number of services have to be discontinued or reduced so that the pressure on the system is reduced. That, I believe, is not an option, because once services have been provided, you cannot withdraw them without considerable inconvenience to the passengers. So that is not a way out. The only way out is that the trains have to be introduced and have to be run on the congested routes. Then the only option is that the trains have to be slowed down. There's no way. If a section is saturated and if you put pressure on increasing the average speeds of trains, then that's a absolutely wrong management decision. You cannot do it. You have to either slow down the trains or have the investments done in time so that this pressure is reduced. There is no other option. So I do not think that the speeding up of trains on congested sections should be tried out at this juncture. Till the capacity comes up, they should not be forcing these types of decisions of speeding up trains when the capacity is not there. So that is something which the government has to review.
So the government at various times, they had set up a lot of committees. And the last committee, which was very famous, was the Kakut Committee on Safety. And even that committee had submitted its report long back. But now this government, a few months back, finally gave a financial commitment of 1 lakh crore rupees that would be spent in the next 5 years. That is 20,000 crores rupees every year, and for which the railways, in consultation with the Niti Aayog, is drawing a blueprint. At the same time, we also have a scenario where almost 1.25 lakh safety personnel, the vacancies of these people are lying vacant for quite a long time. So, do we need technological intervention, or do we need to focus on the manual gaps that the system has?
Technology cannot be dispensed with. That is the future. Appropriate technology has to be brought in so that the efficiency of the system is improved, productivity of assets is improved. But that does not mean that your basic operational staff that is required for running of trains is not provided. So, in the short term, staff operational vacancies must be filled up either by retraining people who are in other non-operational categories or by additional recruitment. But the point is, operational categories, this has been a standard operating practice also, that nowhere we let operational vacancies remain unfilled. And that I am quite sure that the government has been trying to do that. If there has been a major default, then this should be the first short-term measure that they must take. Retrain all the existing staff who are working in non-operational categories, make them get into these operational posts post-haste. That should not be there. But of course, technology will give you medium-term and long-term results of efficiency. So that has to go side by side. But till that technology becomes available and is inducted into the system, operational categories have to be provided in the system.
Sir, one aspect that has emerged is that they were apparently, prima facie, what the reports have come out, they were carrying unapproved maintenance work because the approval generally takes a lot of time. The movement of the files take times, and because there are cross-functional departments, so they have to go to different departments, and there is a sense that they operate in silos. Even in the railway board, we have member engineering, member mechanical, member traffic, and so on. The last report, that was a Bibek Debroy report, that talked about the reform in the railway board, that we should have just two kinds of cadres, one technical cadre and one non-technical cadre. Why do we have so many different functionalities working independently or autonomously?
Yes, that silo culture has to be attended to. This is a wrong thing that is happening. But the solution that has been given, I think, of having only one or two cadres, that also is an oversimplification. You cannot, in today's time of technology, specialization is a very important need. And you cannot say that anybody who is a Bachelor of Engineering can attend to every activity of the railways. But yes, the number of services that we are having today, we could, for instance, merge the transportation cadre and the personnel and accounts cadre. That can be done. They are all recruited through the same examination, a civil services examination, and they raise a synergy by having the people of this joint cadre to know both about operations, about commercial working, and about accounting. Because today, every executive has to have very clear understanding of the financial position of operations, etc. So therefore, this can be done. All the three categories of civil services, non-technical services, can be merged. But in the engineering side, we have to take a view whether we can have one or two or three cadres still. That is a thing which has to be checked. For instance, mechanical and electrical can be merged. That is a possibility. Engineering, signaling could be probably a second group.
Investment option that we have seen the railways lacked for many decades. But in the recent times, the planned budget is almost about 1.21 lakh crores each year that the railways has gone up to. So do you think that the financial infusion may take away these kind of accidents or may minimize, or we may in a decade or two come to the level of Japan where there is a zero accident culture?
Yes, it is possible. We can do it, and we are in a position to leapfrog. By induction of the appropriate technology, we can reach the best in the world. It is feasible. But the point is whether this level of investment that has happened now after a lot of delay, whether this will have to be even doubled or tripled. The committees that have gone into this aspect, they have said that this investment that has been delayed for such a long time, you will have to raise it exponentially, and simultaneously the capacity to absorb that investment has to be created in the railways for project management, etc. So there is a roadmap that is available. The only thing is today now the investments that are required, they should be provided post-haste and without any dilution. This will be a challenge for the government.
Katauri rail accident has reminded that the safety issues should be the top priority of the government in the railways, and we should do everything to avoid such kind of accidents. Mr. Shanti Narayan, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on safety measures in Indian Railways. The participants were Shanti Narayan, former member Railway Board, and Manish Anand, journalist. The program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.